The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, would like to thank everyone for joining us today for our very first LogRhythm webinar. I'd like to just thank everyone for coming and learning a little bit more about LogRhythm. The focus of the event is your security intelligence leaving you high and dry? And if it is, well, then you're in the right place to spend 30 minutes or so learning about LogRhythm and what it's all about. I am the presenter today, Chuck Eiton, Marketing Manager here at Productive Corporation. I am joined by Richard Patrick, Sales Engineer at LogRhythm, and we're going to hopefully show a little bit about the technology, talk a little bit about it, and do all that in 30 minutes or less. So with that, let's take a quick look at the agenda for today. We're going to meet Productive in 1 minute, hopefully less than a minute it takes me to introduce who we are. We're going to talk about the case for SIEM, Log and Event Management, why LogRhythm. We're going to talk a little bit about the platform, and then get into the technology and show some technology, which is really why I know everyone came here to see. So with that, let's take a quick look at who is Productive. Productive is a security and storage software expert for mid-sized companies. At Productive, you'll have a dedicated account executive who's responsible for meeting your needs and solving your problems. What we do, not only sell software, but we implement, test, optimize, we do security assessments, we do penetration tests, we configure and assist UTM services and security services in general. We also offer a lot of content for our customers and the IT community out there on our website. We have lots of webinars, what we call P-guides, which are white papers. All kinds of stuff can be found on productivecorp.com/content. You can also find it on our YouTube channel, which is YouTube/productivecontent, and our Twitter, which is /productivecorp. So the bottom line, we can help you. We can help you with implementation, assessments, sell any of the software, talking about security in general, and really help you with that. You can reach anyone in the company at help@productivecorp.com or 800-726-4099. So back through the agenda here. Want to talk a little bit about the mid-market, right? That's pretty much everyone on this call is the mid-market, and talk a little bit about why SIEM, and then why did we add LogRhythm to the line card? What was the connection there? So, the case for SIEM, the cost of compliance is way cheaper than not being compliant. We see it over and over and over where people say, well, we can't get budget, we can't do this, we can't do that, and end up paying way more in the end by not doing anything until it's too late. We run into that all the time with hundreds of customers a year. Sensitive data is everywhere, whether you realize it or not. Employees are accessing that data, and your data is probably in more places than you think it might be. The damage, right, which we talked about, not just the penalties right here, but lost productivity, just all those things. And then that it doesn't have to be complex to manage. That's one of the things that we hear all the time when we're talking to our customers is, well, I don't have a staff that can handle that, or I can't bring in another person to manage. We have any mid-sized companies have millions, if not billions, of logs. Well, let's narrow it down to what's actually important and what are we missing, what aren't we seeing. Let's make it very easy to use, and that's really why we brought on LogRhythm to complement our line card. Is they make it really affordable to do some pretty complex things. So why LogRhythm? They've been in the, if you're familiar with the Gartner Magic Quadrant, they've been in the upper right, which is where you want to be since 2012 for the SIEM space. They have a pretty unique concept for their platform and how they talk and show the technology, which Richard's gonna get into. single integrated solution. No, oh, you could be using this or that or this other thing. Nope, it's an integrated solution. And then just a low total cost of ownership by really helping with that ease of use. So with that, I'd like to introduce Richard. Thanks for joining us today. And I know you have one slide that you want to talk about before we jump in and actually show technology for a good 20-25 minutes here. So with that, Richard, why don't we talk a little bit about the platform here and what we're talking about?
Okay, absolutely. And I guess just go ahead and if you want to go ahead and hit enter for me when we get to each section of this, I'll just kind of talk our way through. So before I really jump into the product, I like to kind of talk a little bit about how does the LogRhythm does its thing. Now, the first thing we can kind of see here is this sort of flow chart we put together. And the first piece of it really is the input side. And what we can see is at the kind of the top of what we're doing is we're taking all of the log messages being generated in your environment, and we're pulling all that information together and bringing it into one place. But then not only are we pulling all that log data together, if you want to go ahead and hit the next chunk there for me, we're also generating data as well. So we're pulling all your log data into your environment. We're also generating data of our own. One of the things that we're capable of doing is we can be doing file integrity monitoring. So if you need to be observing changes on any particular servers in your environment, we can go ahead and do that. We can do process monitoring. So if you want to make sure that certain rogue processes aren't on your network, we can go ahead and do that. Another thing we can do as well is we do have a network monitoring tool that's available that's able to do level 7 packet capture, so that we can really see everything that's going on really inside of your environment. So once we've got all that data together, we're going to go ahead and start analyzing it. So go ahead and hit next for me. So once we start analyzing that data, we're doing quite a few things. Kind of the big one right at the top there is time normalization. So what we're doing is, unlike a lot of other products that are out there, when we pull a log message in, we're not stamping with when we received it, we're stamping with when it was actually created. This is a really big piece behind what it is that makes our correlation engine work. The other things we're doing too is we're pulling out all that pertinent metadata. If you're looking at a raw log message, there's a lot of static information, a lot of dynamic information, but they're all in very specific fields. We're pulling that information out, putting it and breaking it out into fields that are very easily searchable. We also classify the data out so you can tell if it's going to be security events, audit events, or operational events that are occurring. And then also we do, and this is kind of a big one, is context infusion. And so it's not just allowing us to use geolocation to actually tell you where your traffic is coming from and where it's going beyond simply IP addresses. So if you want to go ahead and hit next for me again, please. Go ahead and hit it twice. So once we've processed all that data, that's where the correlation piece comes together. And advanced correlation, think of it this way. If I'm looking at individual log messages going back and forth in my environment, a lot of those messages when looked at individually don't really tell me much. But when I correlate related events together, that can actually tell me things that are going on inside my environment. Things we can also look at too is we can be doing monitoring of the behavior of users in our environment and also doing whitelisting. So we can learn what it is that causes, that's a normal behavior for individual users. So if we suddenly see them outside the norm, logging in from where we've never seen them before, trying to access things in the environment they don't normally go to, we can go ahead and do that. We also give you the ability to do forensic analysis, which is allowing you to, once you've got data together, we're making it very easy to search it. We're also making it very visual so that you can really see what it is you need to see as quickly as possible. If you want to go ahead and hit next for me one more time, please. And so then the big thing too then is that once we've done all of that is the output side of it. And it's the actionable intelligence. We're doing quite a few different things here. We've got the different dashboards you can put in place so that you can be observing the things you need to be looking at any given moment. We also are generating alerts that are based off of risk-based, so you can see what the most critical events are at any given moment. And then also we allow you to generate reports. In the situations of compliance you need to have reports you can generate. We give you that ability. Want to hit enter for me one last time. And then the other thing that, yes, please.
Awesome. So your headset's cutting out a little bit once in a while. Maybe you can adjust it.
Not a problem. I apologize. And so kind of the last piece is then incident response too, and this is where we can set LogRhythm up to actually take responses for us, and I'll actually get into that when we start looking at the product itself. And also we provide case management so that you have that really good that kind of ability to go back through time and see what it is that's been going on. So it's not just a situation of you're putting LogRhythm in place, it's being able to show that you're actually using it and what you're using it for. And so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and take over here, and I'll go ahead and actually take a look at the product itself.
Yeah, let me get that over to you. And while we're pulling that up, just so everyone knows, if you have any questions throughout, feel free to chat those to me, and I'll go ahead and relay those to Richard, and we can try to get through as many questions as possible if anyone has one. So just use the chat feature, and I'll relay the messages. So I see your console looking good. Let's roll.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll actually talk a bit more about the product while I explain what it is that's going on here. Now, before I even dig into any of this, the real important thing that I like to point out is that your environment is going to be generating millions of log messages per day. And really out in the real world, 2 to 3% of those are the kinds of events that actually matter to us. And so at a real core level, what we're doing with LogRhythm is we're finding that 2 to 3%, basically that needle in a haystack, and bringing it to the surface so you can see what's going on very, very quickly. Now, what we'll notice when we kind of look around in here is that the thing we have going on is that I've got everything in my environment coming into one place. Well, see, I've got all of my hosts in my environment. They're all reporting into one place. And inside of those hosts, it doesn't matter to us what type of log is being generated. We want you to have that single pane of glass into your environment, so we're pulling everything together in one place. You don't have to jump from interface to interface to see what it is that's going on inside your environment. We can be pulling in, it can be syslog coming from your networking devices, it can be Windows event logs off of file servers, domain controllers, it can be flat file being generated by an application server or an IIS server, or vulnerability data coming in through something like Nexpose or Nessus. It doesn't matter to us. We're pulling it all together into one place. Now, once we've got all that data together, what we're going to do is we're going to start classifying it. And the classifications are kind of those top-level buckets. Because the idea is we want to break things out so you can get to them very, very quickly. The classifications are, kind of think of them as the 3 largest levels. At one point, you're going to have all of your operations events, which is any of your network traffic that's going on, any message you're getting, basically describing the well-being of what's happening in the different entities inside of your environment. You're also going to have all the different security events. That's going to be any suspicious activity we're seeing, misuse by our users, any botnets, malware that's showing up in our environment, and then also all of the auditable events, and that is literally all of our user activity, so that we can see who's logging in, where are they going, where are they coming from, and what are they doing once they're inside the environment. Now, once we've got everything broken into these classifications, we're going to start assigning these common events to them. Again, it's that ability to very quickly start drilling into the different data that's going on. The idea behind the common event is essentially this. If I'm looking at when I see that username come in, if I look at my VPN log, it's going to look one way. And when I look at that,
you're cutting out again.
Oh, I apologize. Is that better?
No.
No.
Now it is.
Okay.
You keep going like super quiet and then loud and then super quiet.
Okay, I'll try and move that. So. So the idea behind the common event then is when I look at those 2 log messages, they look very, very differently. They're going to be telling me essentially telling the same thing. So by assigning both as logs same common event, I go ahead and do a search for that kind of information. I'm going to find both.
Yeah, you're almost impossible to understand.
I apologize. I do not know what is going on my end. Let me see what it is that's going on. I apologize.
That's all right. Something crushing your bandwidth, maybe?
That's possible.
Now you sound good. It keeps going in and out.
All right. I will try, and if I just don't move, everything will be good. All right. So I do apologize for the sound difficulties. I do not know what's going on. So once we got all this data together, having all these visuals is great and everything. But we want to be able to dig into this. And from within this console, I can go ahead and double-click on any of this information and dig into it. So if I want to go ahead and look at my user logon failures, well, all I have to do is go ahead and double-click, and I'm isolating those. As I'm digging into this data, the raw log messages are always coming with me. So if I need to look at those raw log messages, I can go ahead and do that. So as we can see here, is I've gone from a high-level dashboard that's showing me everything, where now I'm very, very quickly isolating my logon failures, and I can see which specific users are having those failures, and I can just kind of keep digging in deeper and deeper as I need to get that information. So if I want to go ahead and look at all of the logon failures just here for John, I can go ahead, handful of clicks, I found all of them. And I'm doing this, all of the logs that are associated with this activity is going to be following me. And we'll notice as I'm drilling into this data and running this investigation, it's the pertinent log data that's always going to be coming with me. Nice thing about this too is all these little queries up here. Yes, I can just add and remove all these different widgets, but we have a lot of people who are far more command line oriented. Well, all of our queries are built around those SIEM queries. So if I want to come in here and do a quick search, I know exactly what it is I'm looking for. I just go ahead and type out what I want, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this same kind of information in. So, but the other thing that's happening in LogRhythm too is the different alarms that are going off, and this is the correlation part of the product at work, or the advanced intelligence engine. And this is where we're looking for certain anomalies in the environment that, again, when we're looking at individual log messages, often those individual messages aren't really telling us much, but when we're looking at, when we start putting those together and start correlating that, we start seeing things that are going on. The alarms themselves are based off of risk ratings. It's very simple. It's a 1 to 100 scale. The higher the number, the more severe the threat is. So I've also color-coded it too, so I always tell everybody that the darker the red, the more serious the event. And within these, I can really get kind of granular about what it is I'm looking at. If I have alarms in place that are only meant for me to see, I can go ahead and filter off of that. I can go ahead and filter off the different risks. So if I only want to see the most critical events going on, I can go ahead and do that. If I want to look at individual alarms that are happening. And then also, which ones have been opened, which ones have been closed, and what is it that's been done with those. And so one of the personal ones that I like to use a lot is this one here, which is this account created and used and deleted. This is a particular alarm that's looking for very straightforward events that when we look at individually don't tell us much, but when we put them together, start telling us that something important is going on. In the case of this rule, it's basically saying, I'm seeing an administrator, they're creating an account, they're using that account, and they're turning it right around and deleting it, and that's what causes this alarm to go off. When I go in here, I can go ahead and change its status so I know what it is that's been going on. I can also go ahead and put comments in here as well, so that if somebody comes back and wants to see what's going on with a particular alarm, they can see those notes. It's just kind of a point to talk about how the product itself is self-auditing. So if someone comes to you and says, well, you have LogRhythm in place, have you been using it, what are you doing with it, I can go ahead and run reports that are going to go ahead and pull back the information regarding what's going on with the different alarms inside the environment. And then also if I want to see the actual log messages that make up a particular alarm, I can just go ahead and do a quick drill down on that, and it's going to go ahead and pull that information back for me. So what I'm going to go ahead and do from here, because I'm kind of keeping an eye on the clock, and hopefully my sound is still working fairly well for everybody, is I really do like to show a little bit about how what it is that makes the Advanced Intelligence Engine unique. And so what I'm actually doing here is actually going to look a little bit at the guts of the product, but I'm not going to go super in depth. I just kind of wanted to talk about it. The AI engine has approximately 600 rules built into it. These are all rules that come with the product. We have a LogRhythm Labs group, and one of their jobs is to put all these different rules together. So it's not a situation where, well, if you want correlation, you need to write these. No, we have all these available for you to use. At the same time, we give you a lot of flexibility. You have the ability to create your own rules. You have the ability to modify any of the rules that we happen to have created, so you can go ahead and make them your own. And then as far as building the rules themselves, they're actually really very straightforward. There's no language that needs to be learned to make these go. It's all built very drag and drop oriented, built around these different rule blocks, which you then put in place to go ahead and generate the alarms we're seeing. Now, the blocks themselves are really where a lot of the power lies, because you notice that we can go ahead and we can tie these guys together at a kind of a high level, like that particular alarm we were looking at, which is this one. We're looking simply for things to happen. On an operations level, that's a lot of the kind of alarming you're looking for. I'm looking for say, error or warning to occur in my environment, and I want to be alarmed off of that. These blocks can also work in reverse. I can tell it to look for things to not happen. A good example of this is I have a restart command to it. Well, when I send that command to have it restart, that's going to generate a log message. Within a certain period of time afterwards, I'm going to get another message back saying that it's come back up. If I don't see that, well, I know that that server has stayed down, and I want to go ahead and be alarmed off of that occurrence not happening. We can also build things around thresholds and unique values. If I have an IP address hitting my firewall, say, 5 times in an hour, I probably don't really care about that. I have that same IP address hit my firewall 500 times in an hour. I've broken that threshold, and I want to go ahead and be alarmed off of that. And then really at that kind of most advanced level are these behavioral rules. And this is where we literally put a block in place that learns what it is that's normal in an environment. We go ahead and have it observe a particular user so we can see what it is that's normal for them. So in my case, if we were to set this up to observe my behavior, we know that I traditionally am using the same computer. I'm usually logging in from certain locations, and once I'm inside the network, I'm going to be generally going to the same and utilizing the same resources on a regular basis, and that's what's normal for me. Now, if we suddenly see strange login behavior, I'm logging in from a country I've never logged in from before. I'm inside the environment. I'm trying to get to sensitive directories, say HR or finance files. That's outside the norm for me. I can go ahead and generate alarms off of that. And when the alarms themselves go off, that's what it is that's causing us to see things on our dashboard. But we can do a lot more than that, because one of the powers of LogRhythm, we're not there to just give you a tool to watch the logs go by. You have that ability to send out notifications. So in this case, I can go ahead and add people. If an alarm fires, go ahead and send me a notification so that I get something in my inbox, so that I know that an alarm has occurred, that I don't have to go into an interface and make sure everything's okay. No, I'm going to go ahead and get notified on it. But then also what we can do as well is we can do what's referred to as smart response. And this is really where we can set LogRhythm up to take actions on our behalf. And so all these really are, these are scripts that you can put in place that you can have LogRhythm run. So in the case of, let's say I have a web server that could only have a certain list of processes running on it. So I can go ahead and say, if I see a process that's not on this list, fire up on this box, let's run a script, go ahead and kill it, and go ahead and have it do that so that you're not having to take that action. You're actually letting LogRhythm do that for you. You can do a similar thing with, say, user accounts. I see an account logging in from 2 countries at the same time. That's not really normal. It's not possible for that user to be in 2 places at once. Go ahead and lock that particular account out. But then just in case you don't want these kinds of things really going off on autopilot, there is an approval layer. And I can actually have up to 3 layers of this where I can go ahead and say, if before you take this action, go ahead and basically get my permission for it. So what's going to happen now is think of it this way. My rule blocks are satisfied, which causes the alarm to fire. So I get that notification that the alarm is gone off. Once I have that notification, LogRhythm is telling me, okay, this is what's happening. I don't have to do something about it. Do you want me to do it, yes or no? I go ahead, take a quick look at it, and tell it to take that response or not. So on that note, then, if there's any questions I can answer, I know this is a very quick high-level overview, but if there's any questions.
Yeah, so there is actually a question, and it's one of the most common questions regardless of the event, and it's around resources. What type of server, how much horsepower, what kind of storage, what's required to run this. This particular environment they're talking about has about 50 Windows servers. Okay. And then their firewall logs. What are we talking about for systems on this, something like this?
Okay. Well, I'll answer that in a couple of ways. As far as the deployment of LogRhythm itself, you have a couple of different models that you can follow. We do sell it as an appliance. So literally, everything's all in one box. You put it in your environment, and it's basically just running on a Windows server. You can also do this as a VM. So if you have a fully virtualized environment, you can go ahead and set up a VM to go ahead and run this on. And then from a scalability standpoint, it's extremely scalable. And you can do from the smallest environment to the largest enterprises. So it's kind of hard for me to give a kind of a stock answer on the resources required because it really varies depending upon the volume of data being generated within your environment. But just know that we are very scalable. If you're generating, say, several hundred messages, log messages per second, up to the tens of thousands of log messages per second, we can handle both of those loads. Does that hopefully answer that question?
Yeah, and if not, I mean, that's one of those things, right, that we can talk about in a proof of concept. We can talk about before, and your productive account executive will be following up after this this call, and in this case, Tim will be calling you to answer any questions, and we can go over that. Because what we found so far is that it really depends on the environment. There's a lot of different things required for that. So we can answer that, and then with that being said, let me grab back control.
Go for it.
Quick here. All right. All right. So with that being said, we're pretty much out of time here, and I know we kind of just scratched the surface, right, Richard, of what this can do.
Absolutely.
There's a lot to it, and we would love to help take you through the discovery process and see, is this something that's right for your environment? We're finding, tons and tons of organizations that have compliance requirements are absolutely needing to do something like this. And if you don't have compliance requirements, there's still a lot of good things that can make the data and make the business more secure. So we can definitely have those conversations. We can get Richard on another call and do a custom demo. That would be my recommended next step is let's do a custom demo. Let's talk about your environment in particular, and go through what it is and go from there. So with that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I know the 30 minutes did go by super quick. Your gift cards, everyone attending today will receive a gift card from Amazon, and I will work on getting those out before the end of the week, so stay tuned from that. It does come directly from Amazon, so if you don't see it by the end of the week, I would check your spam folder, and it will probably be in there. So with that, Richard, thank you for the time.
You're welcome.
I think this was some valuable information. I will work on getting this up on our website, productivecorp.com/content, so you'll be able to view it there or on our YouTube channel. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I appreciate you giving us a chance to show this to you, and hope to see you on a future productive event. Thank you.